In my first pitch that I ever had for a musical show, I pitched long before Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. I wrote a song. And the thing is, when you write a song with a recorded track and perform it in a pitch, you're sitting 2 feet away from the executives. And it's a long 2.5 minutes because it's a recorded track. I have been in a lot of uncomfortable pitching situations. And
you sang the song? You sang the song in the pitch?
Yes.
I'm so unhappy right now. I'm just so
Wait, will you sing it for us right now, please?
It was
from tip to tail.
Here's the thing, it was a good song.
I'm sure.
Well, now we definitely want to hear it.
I don't remember it. I think it was called "This Will Be Where My Dreams Come True." There's
no. This is weeds.
Hello, I'm Lorraine Ali from the Los Angeles Times, and welcome to the SAG-AFTRA Foundation panel discussing the fantastic show Reboot. First off, I just want to say I love the series. I thought it was hysterical. You are all fantastic. I kind of have to say that, I guess, because we're sitting here together, But
let me say that Lorraine, for those who don't know, Lorraine is a terrific writer. And I'm not just saying that because my friends don't read, but I do. And you're a terrific writer and I've enjoyed your pieces. So let's focus on me.
Okay, so for those of you out there who haven't seen the show yet, you should. It is about basically Hulu rebooting a 2000s sitcom and bringing back the cast who is totally dysfunctional, and it's hysterical to watch everybody play this out. So what I wanted to ask you all, and please, I know you're shy, so just feel free to jump in. You all come from very different backgrounds in comedy, but you all come from comedy on television. This show really gets at kind of this intersection of comedy where streaming's hitting, more traditional sitcoms, and where these cast members are trying to deal with their own stuff in a really fast changing world. So can you just talk a little bit about what brought you into this? Because I see a lot of trails going into this.
Keegan, you were talking about this earlier, weren't you?
I was talking about this earlier. None of you were there. It was just me to myself walking around in my home, amusing myself. I remember Steve called me pre-pandemic to talk about this, and it was funny because I could identify on some level with a lot of the characters that he was mentioning. I mean, the concept makes sense because I think a lot of people are dealing with this. It's not as grandiose as, When the Talkies started. It's not Singing in the Rain, but it is like that in a certain degree where we're in this fast changing landscape, and certain characters are embracing it fully. Certain characters only know this landscape, and other characters are making the adjustments as they happen. And I think that's a really exciting part of the approach of the show and why the show works.
And I did this because with a cast with kind of so many big names and famous people, I was like, the odds are good that one of them is going to be horrible. And I want to know which one it is.
Johnny.
And to my surprise, well, Judy and Johnny have a whole thing. I was going to say to my surprise, no one was, it was quite disappointing. Everyone was nice and horrible. Judy and Johnny have some animosity that makes us all very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But, we try to stay out of it.
It's like the Jack Benny, George Burns rivalry, but without the warmth.
Wait, which one am I?
You're George Burns, who was older.
Whichever one you like. You have first go.
Did Johnny say who's ever older?
Yeah, George Burns, because he was older.
Oh, man.
I would like to second what Rachel said. I was curious which one was going to be the bad apple, and it was weirdly a guy in props. It was none of us. And
I'm sorry, you say it was weirdly a guy in props?
It was fair enough. Fair enough. No, it was really, everyone's been so great. Even we're missing Caleb and Krista, and they're our secret weapons.
Yeah, where'd they go? Why aren't they here?
Too many,
so many little screens.
You know what? I will say this, Lorraine, and I think all of us have shared this to an extent, because this is not a traditional sitcom where you see it grow and you do the whole thing top to bottom every day. We were only involved in our pieces, so we did our scenes, and so as a result, when you see the whole thing put together, there are scenes you've never seen and actors you've never really been in scenes with. And I will say that as much as what you asked about was in the script, it was so much more so in the execution. I went, oh, this is really about characters and second chances. And this is really about people that you care about that I didn't know that I would, reading it and then watching all these wonderful actors and wonderful writing. I thought, oh, this really is about that cross current of what you can, what moment are we in and what is no longer acceptable and how we all change. So I think the sum is so much better than and bigger than the parts themselves.
And those particularly the scenes in the writer's room too, were just the writing in it is fantastic. But those scenes in the writer's room, just getting at it's not just a generational thing. It's like what was once funny is now offensive, or what is, it's so fantastically done. Did you kind of see some of those bits fresh when you saw the series after it was done? You know what I mean? Because you obviously weren't sitting in on all of those.
Well, we do a read through, and just anytime, any lines that come out of Rose Abdu's mouth are just pure gold. So
everything.
It's the read through is like one of the highlights of the week when we were shooting, because you get it like 5 minutes before the read through, and it's just, the writing was amazing on this, and it was a wonderful surprise every week.
We would get really excited. I know that when we would get those scripts, I don't know if you, Johnny, but I would thumb through immediately to see if there was a writer's room scene. I just wanted to get, where is the writer's room scene? Yeah. And then I have to say, part of my delight every week when watching the show is, I have to say, Rachel, is watching your reactions to the older writers. It's just magical watching your reactions to, and then watching the younger Gen Z writers' reactions also to the older writers. Is that it was just delicious.
And many of those you could have shot the table read, because the writers really were going, oh my God, literal gasp. But, and like in all shows, once you see one episode, the writers know how to write for the strengths of all the actors. So Rose got more.
Oh my God. I know.
And she would bring in stuff herself. But what's really great fun about doing those scenes in the writer's room is that most shows would have to have actual meetings where they would negotiate what can be said and what you can't say. Should we take a chance? In our show, we get to see the conversation itself. So it doesn't matter what line ends up in their script or not. It's like, it's somebody, me, one of the older guys saying, well, an Eskimo is like, well, you can't say Eskimo. Why not? When did that happen? And that is what's funny. The conversation about what day exactly did Eskimo become off limits? That's the conversation you don't hear on actual shows.
Right. And what's so good too is that there's also all this other, like, behind the scenes, right? There's all the drama between the characters. There's the what would we say? She's like the TV mom. Oh my God, the whole thing.
Carrie Kinney.
Oh God. Mwah.
Oh my God.
It's so wrong, and it's so fucking hysterical. Can I say that on this? Can I just ask you about what's behind your head there? The halo of photos.
Oh, this is TV's Judy Greer at various stages of her upbringing.
Of the day, of today.
Yeah.
It's so nice. Johnny's in production right now. So the fact that you...
Yeah, I keep editors waiting just to do this kind of thing.
This is...
Okay.
This is, I don't know. This is the part, Lorraine, that I don't know how this will make its way into a second season, but God, I hope so. The fact that we have a drama, we have a handmade bespoke drama that's taking place in the midst of our little drama. It's really fun. It's this whole thing has been delicious.
He drives me up the wall.
I have one thing I'm going to do to you that I know will drive you. I'm only, in all the months that we worked together, I was only able to really figure out one thing that you hate. And I'm going to do it next time I see you.
Is it me, or is that just Kanye?
No. I know what it is. I mean,
the whole idea too of it, because the whole thing starts out very meta. They're in the Hulu offices, pitching this. Rachel, your character's pitching this comedy, and it's not a reboot to start with, but the way that unroll, well, it is, I guess, but the way that it like rolls out, I sort of love how it gets at the confusion and desperation of the industry right now, but also the creative. I don't know. Can you just talk a little bit about that?
So like pitching is always not always an unpleasant experience, but it's nerve-wracking because you're putting on a performance for people who for sometimes unwilling audience members. In my first pitch that I ever had for a musical show I pitched long before Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, I wrote a song because I hadn't pitched before. And the thing is, when you write a song with a recorded track and perform it in a pitch, you're sitting 2 feet away from the executives. So, and it's a long 2.5 minutes because it's a recorded track. So like I have been in a lot of uncomfortable pitching situations. And
you sang the song? You sang the song in the pitch?
Yes.
I'm so unhappy right now. I'm just so
Wait, will you sing it for us right now, please?
It was
from tip to tail.
Here's the thing, it was a good song.
I'm sure.
Well, now we definitely want to hear it.
I don't remember it. I think it was called "This Will Be Where My Dreams Come True." There's
no.
It was ironic.
Oh, okay.
Ironic.
Okay. Because this is actually where dreams go to die.
Exactly. No one on this Zoom has seen anything I've ever done, so they don't know what I do. But
but we're looking forward. I'm sure it's going to be great.
Yeah.
I own your book.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Didn't I give it to you? It's fine.
No, I bought it.
She bought it.
But I will give you mine.
But anyway, pitching is always like it's a weird thing, and I think that pitching scene was a weird foreshadowing of when we shot the show, stuff was looking bleak. Obviously, we were still very much in the middle of the pandemic, but like, I mean, not to be a downer, but everyone I've talked to about like the state of the industry right now, everyone's like, this is the bleakest I've ever seen it. And so the idea of like, yeah, you're not going to really get original ideas made right now. You need existing IP because everybody is terrified because the corporations are hemorrhaging money. I think that scene is even more relevant now. So that's the good thing, is that the worse the world gets, the better our show gets.
Yeah. But isn't it true that every single show listed in that, what are actual shows that have been rebooted? Like he wasn't.
Yes.
Yes,
yeah,
all of those shows have been rebooted.
A couple of them are Hulu even. It's just like they want to make money and stuff that is IP that is previously known as just.
But even that is such faulty logic, because just because something was successful at one point, there's no reason to presume that's going to be successful again in some radio. Do you remember it was, I guess in the 80s or somewhere, where there was Hot Dog the movie, Hamburger the movie, and Toast the movie. Why would you assume that something that is good will be as great as a 94-minute movie? Soup, the film. You like Soup, right? It was a film. That's not the same.
But that then also becomes one of the themes of our show.
Yes,
is that we have to make there's that thing between Art with Hannah and Gordon saying, no, we have to make comfort food. That's where we are. We have to do that. And how do we find our way out of that? It really sits thematically in the show. It's baked in, you know.
And you watch Hannah start to be more, I think, on her father's side of like, we got to make the show pleasing and capture the spirit of what the show originally was. And I think that as an actor, the cool thing about playing my character is it's not just like a frustrated showrunner. There are so many other things to play. So even in that pitching scene, I know from being in the editing room, the thing that you want when you're when you're doing film and TV is you want to give them options, because in the editing room, you don't know how the episode's going to come together. You don't know what arc they're going to be like, oh, you know what? We want to highlight that more. So it's fun to give different reads and different takes. And it's harder to do that when your character's just, I'm a harried showrunner. But like going into this knowing, oh, her father's the original creator. She does usually edgy shit at South by Southwest. And now she's pitching a cheesy sitcom reboot. There was so much to take from that. And the thing that I love about watching this show is everyone is playing so many different levels. And I think because the tone of the writing has an empathy for everyone, it gives us all as actors so much more to play than I'm just a shitty Hollywood piece of shit, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And I wanted to ask you all, because about the characters, that's what I love about. There's this multi-layered thing about the characters where it's not just, oh, they're dysfunctional, ha, ha, ha. It's exactly what you're saying. There's all sorts of different levels too, but also the interplay between them. Like, you know, father-daughter, you know, with Keegan and Judy, like the ex, whatever you guys were, you know, so I don't know. I think that interplay also like lends this kind of, I don't know, you really get the sense that it was a cast and they're trying to pull back together. You get the sense it's real.
One of the things that the writers have done so well, and they've done so well and also in casting, is that you end up caring about everybody. I was remembering the scene where I guess it's the last episode where Reed's girlfriend in New York comes out and surprises and the tension of the triangle. And it's like, oh, I feel so badly for her. And then I feel so badly for Judy. And I feel so fucking sorry for Keegan in the middle. It got me every way. I'm not even sure which way I want this to end. I think, oh, well, that's good television is what it is.
Yeah.
It's something that Steve does well. That he has that lovely undercurrent of heart that I think it's his idea, and he instills it in the writers as well, so that you always have, as Rachel was mentioning, you've got something to play with and always something to play against that affects the internal life of the character, which I think is always very exciting for a performer.
I loved how he, I know he didn't love this, but Steve was writing as we were shooting, which I know can be stressful. Well, I've heard, Rachel, is it stressful? Anyway, but I thought it was like where we started in our first episode to where we ended in our 8th of this first season. I don't know if he would have gotten there if he hadn't spent time with us and gotten to know us and like seen how our characters and how us as actors like responded to each other and the ways that we were like specifically funny. I mean, he never worked with us before. And so like, I know going forward, it's a writer's dream probably to be able to have like a showrunner's dream to have every script done before you go into production. But I do think there's something to be said with like how far he took it with heart, you know, that this is a comedy, but he was so not afraid to make it grounded and to mean something. And at the end of that 8th episode to like leave everyone like, wait, what? Like, you know, I thought that was really, that's why I think Steve's brilliant. And when you asked originally why we all wanted to do this, I think all of us would probably say because of Steve Levitan was the reason that we were all like, yeah, I'll do it. I don't need to read it, whatever.
Well, I think also the idea, you know, as you were saying, I think, Rachel, you said this, is that, you know, a lot of people right now are saying, you know, it's such a bad time in the industry, nothing's new. But I would like argue that, you know, you have comedies like Reservation Dogs, or you have something like Our Flag Means Death. But then you also have The Wonder Years rebooted, which I think is a really good reboot. And then you have something like Reboot, which I feel like mixes those things together, and it's self-conscious while it's doing it in a fantastic way. Does that make sense? Like, yeah.
I never would have. You know, Steve is talking about that the inception for the show was when all the shows were rebooting. He thought, oh gosh, that would be a great idea about a show rebooting. And then he was surprised to see nobody did it. I don't know. And we even, you know, did another Man About You, but I never would have thought that the premise of rebooting television shows was significant enough a phenomenon for anybody to give a shit about. And I don't know that they actually do. I think this show is good because it's good, not because it's about a reboot. You know what I mean? But I think I was wrong, because people do clock it and enjoy seeing whether they fail or succeed, seeing people's second at bat.
Right. And so I know, you said that nobody was an asshole and it was only that one guy that worked at craft services or whatever it was, but
Props.
sorry.
Don't badmouth the craft service people.
Oh, Judy will
Please,
not
I
talk
would
bad
never
about the
say anything
craft
bad
service
about
guy.
Jesse. What?
He actually complimented you there. That was weird.
And I missed it. Yes.
But so
besides that guy.
Who, when you were doing this, like who could make the other person break more? In other words, like there's so many damn funny parts in there. I don't know how you guys got through it without
Caleb every time. It's Caleb. Caleb is the secret assassin, comedy assassin. He would just little quips every now and again that would just come out of his mouth that you would never expected.
His girlfriend was 61 years old.
It's amazing.
I was like, how old are you? And he goes, 31. I said, how old is your girlfriend? 61. Like, didn't miss a beat.
It just
Not in the show, but it was like my first moment on set with him. And I was like, oh, okay. All right, here we go.
Yeah. Oh, so that's okay. That's what you're bringing to the table. All right, brother man. Oh, Canada. All right, Canada.
Canada. Oh, Canada.
Oh, Canada. Kayla, I mean, I shouldn't speak for everybody else, but I know for Judy and I have talked about this, that
Yes.
Caleb has this ineffable quality of just dropping comedy bombs out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And it's so fantastic too that, for people who haven't watched this, like he was the child actor. Now he's coming back and he's not a child anymore. And it's just like, you're still kind of viewing him as that, the cast is, and he'll be in the room and like everybody's talking about him as if or they're not even talking about him.
Is
They're
he on this
around
too?
him.
I mean, this wouldn't even surprise me if he was actually.
This is a very reboot thing for us to be doing right now.
Well, we did one of these a while ago where he was part of it. And I said at the time, I didn't realize until the Zoom quite how good an actor he was, because I thought that was him. I thought that character, well, he's just a goofy, and he is an ex-child actor. And when I saw his adult, thoughtful, side, I went,
oh my
so
God.
you've been acting. Oh my goodness, you're quite good.
I need a car. And I was texting him, like, what's a environmentally friendly, sustainable car right now? He emailed me the longest email with like all this research and all these attachments and like all this stuff. And I was like, just gonna get an Audi, but okay. Like, he is a secret weapon in every way.
Is. He's terrific. He's really terrific.
I never cared for him, but
you get a little Bob Hope in there.
I think we just made Johnny leave.
Johnny's out. He's
gone.
Well, we weren't talking about Johnny.
He's got a different setup with pictures of Caleb all around him that he's gonna be moving.
He's gonna lift up his shirt and it's tattooed.
It was a Jackass sketch that they didn't end up.
It didn't end up in the movie, in the final movie. Yeah.
So, okay, forgive me if I do not know this, but how much have you? Oh, did you just?
My computer was dying, so I had to plug it in. Sorry.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I wanted to ask you, Johnny, was there, did you get like any reactions of people surprised with you and in this cast, like playing a rebooted sitcom star or just even being in this? Because I thought it was actually I was like, wow, when I looked at the lineup and then I'm like, this actually really makes sense once I started watching it.
Well, people have been really supportive and saying really nice things to me about the show and my being in it. But I'm playing like a naughty comedian who's drank a little too much a few times in his career. So is it that big of a stretch?
Did you get an acting coach for that?
Yeah.
Did you hire an acting coach?
But see, by the way, I would say going back to what I said before about watching the scenes entirely, I was so moved by Johnny's performance. It's like I knew all the funny bits and how funny he was, but I went, I'm really love this guy, the character. I don't like Johnny, but I'm saying the character. It was so moving and sweet. It's like, the scene where he tried the second time to make amends Jerry.
Lawrence, yeah, to Larry.
Lawrence, the stage hands like, oh.
No, the
But
scene
can
with
I-
you
but-
and him in ADR.
That's, I was literally going to say the same thing, Judy.
Come on.
That's one of the best scenes in the
ADR
whole show.
moment in all 8 episodes is so fucking beautiful.
You remember that,
Sweet.
Lorraine?
Which moment I missed
When Paul and Johnny are hugging
Yes.
after the ADR, and Johnny lets go, he lets go, and can we just go a little? Oh God, it's so
It's
beautiful.
so-
That's all he
I mean-
needed. He just needed a hug.
The amends was so good, but that moment broke me. Oh,
Yeah, that
so
was
good.
Just
delightful.
because I'm hanging on by a thread. But thank you.
Johnny,
But
are you just
also-
telling us it's just typecasting, right?
Wait, also in that scene though, what about when Dennis goes, "There's that darkness"?
Dennis is funny. Dennis is
Also in the scene where Aaliyah comes in
Oh
and
yeah.
she's never done it before, and she reads this 75-page thing in
With the
one
sound
take. And like, fuck. Yeah, with the sound of it. In
Such a
sync.
good bit.
The supporting cast in the show is, the show is just cast top to bottom impeccably.
Yeah.
Even there's
the
just
tour
so
guide.
much footage from everyone being brilliant all the time. It must be hard to edit the show.
Yeah.
Great
The
problem.
tour
to have.
guide who's like doing the tour bus. Like,
Oh my God, he's so funny. And I think those were improvised where he's
Those
like,
were his
this is where
things.
it's the Glenn Close stage, but it's Glenn Close.
Improvise
He made all
that?
that stuff up. Yes, he was so
I'm
good. I'm pretty
80%
sure.
that was
That's amazing. That's amazing.
And then they brought him back for our last number when we're like,
Oh, yeah, when
fighting
we're
on,
out there arguing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and they
yeah,
like
yeah.
had him come back. I was like, anyway.
Speaking of monsters,
Oh my God.
Frankenstein stage.
Oh my
yeah, yeah.
God.
Amazing.
I was going to say also, what Johnny was just saying, like, okay, character's not a big stretch, which I actually think he was fantastic. And there was so many moving moments with him. How much was it, because this does go behind the scenes of, a comedy being made, how much of it did you feel like, oh yeah, I've been here before? Like just as being actors and being, and doing so much work before this, was it something familiar when, you're doing these behind the scenes?
Painfully so. I think it was like wildly accurate. And I was saying we did one scene where we were walking from the stage where we just had a run through and back to the writer's room. And there's some dialogue. We got to fix this. We got to fix that. And I was thinking, I'm just playing a showrunner who has to go fix a script. I have been the guy who walked back and go, shit, we're going to be here late. And went, I don't really have, it was such a relief to realize I'm pretending to be a guy with problems. I don't have these problems. They're Steve Levitan's problems. I love that. But I could relate to them.
Yeah.
Every time in the writer's room, and it almost was like certain lines pop and you go, I don't think she was acting. When Rachel does like, we got to get back on story. I'm going, I'm sorry. It's like, she's really good at it.
All those scenes were very, sometimes triggering to the point where I was like, well, if we're going to do a writer's room, I think I must have annoyed props, the one asshole in props, because I was like, what are we pitching on? And I was looking at the board, and the board had the first episode breakdown of the show within a show. And I was like, we wouldn't be pitching on episode 1. We already filmed that. So what are my episodes?
Right.
No one fucking cares. No one's going to, it's not even, you're not seeing me say anything, but it was for my process.
Yes, but there'll be some asshole on Twitter going, you know what? They're pitching on 1, but that would have been in the can. Fuck off.
Yeah.
But so you're right to make that. But the little beats and they barely went into it. Losing an hour and a half in writing in the writer's room because you're ordering lunch slowly. It's like,
Oh,
I can't tell you.
I feel like
how
that
much-
is like most jobs.
Yeah.
I do too.
No, not as much. I get really excited about lunch.
Yeah, but I think writers, it's an addictive. We can stall the fact that
like
we
a
are so screwed. Yeah.
procrastination.
Yes.
Okay.
Writers don't want to write. I think the thing that no one talks about enough is that writing sucks. It's hard and it sucks and you don't want to do it. And so anything to not do it, you'll just like grab onto.
That is why I'm
Especially
sitting here with you guys.
Especially if you have a showrunner who's a guy and has a family and doesn't want to go home to his kids. He will keep you there all fucking night.
Oh yeah. Lots of couches in a writer's room. Lots of. If you show up the first day, if you get staffed and you go, there's a lot of couches in here.
Oh.
I think somebody's marriage is in trouble. Right? It's like, there's a lot of couches in here.
We're all like, isn't that hilarious? So many
But there's
showrunners having marital disputes.
Somebody said to me one time, somebody said to me, there are writers in this world who have the most impeccably organized closets.
From Stall, yeah.
Impeccably organized closets. Writers.
Wow, I'm working in a closet right now, practically. And if I turned the camera, you would see that it's not impeccably organized at all. But yes.
It's really
Lorraine,
bad
where are you
here.
from?
I'm from Los Angeles, born and raised here, but my father's from Baghdad, from Iraq, and my mom, California girl, French Canadian background. Yeah.
All right. So me sensing a Philadelphia accent was just wrong. I was wrong by every possible direction.
Yeah.
Every direction. Yeah.
You're stalling.
Mostly east and north.
This is, by the way, what a first date would have looked like with me. One shot, and I go, yeah, fuck it, I'm wrong. All right.
I'll pay the bill on the way out.
So no pants on, no pants.
No pants, no second line.
You're reminding me of the scene where what Fred Malamud's character says to Kimmy's character in the writer's room, like, are you of, what does he say? Are you Hispanic? He goes, kind of. And he goes, well, if you'll excuse something like, if you excuse me, my first wife was Hispanic. So don't be surprised if I'm afraid of you.
Yeah.
That's like an old man thing to say.
But to have so many points at which that is wrong.
Right.
Sentence with 5 trigger points in it.
In such a short little sentence.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
And Kimmy is just horrified the whole time. Kimmy is great. I've known Kimmy for years. Kimmy's wife worked on Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. So I've known Kimmy and her wife for many years.
And I was going to ask you, how much have you worked together before? Like, have
Never.
you?
Never.
Keegan and I were on the cover of The Wrap together.
That's
Tangled
right. Yes,
the telephone.
That's
Tangled
right. Rachel and I, we did our telephone bits.
It was our big Emmy push, and I don't think either of us got nominated.
No, I don't think so.
Nope.
I don't think so. Yes.
Judy and I were in a series together and we did one scene, and she felt that was enough. She didn't need more of it. Johnny,
I didn't want to ruin it.
That's what it was. I was afraid of Johnny. I said, he's going to come to the set with a bull and he's going to think it's funny to let the bull through the no, he doesn't.
And he didn't do any of that stuff.
None of that. He was a very lovely guy.
Judy and I did.
Forever is him pranking people at the trailers, and I watched that just before we went into production. I was like, I'm gonna get punched in the asshole. And I was like, and I gotta be prepared. I gotta be prepared for it.
That's such a specific punch to get in there like that.
Yeah.
His fists are so tiny that they just.
Johnny, you also remember when we were doing the pilot, the first episode and the pilot both, they hired that little kid that played young Calum.
Oh yeah.
And you could not help yourself. You were just like,
I was putting the kid up to do things and misbehave. And I was like, hit Keegan in the zipper. And so after that, it was just he couldn't stop himself. Keegan's like, I'm going to kill you.
I was like, imagine that, Johnny. Impulse control as an issue in a 9-year-old. What are you doing? It's like
Keegan just walked around looking down all the time because the kid was always coming at him.
Is that why Paul says, he used to punch me in the schmeckle?
That might be where the line comes from.
Wow, I didn't know that.
That might be where the line comes from. That little boy was incorrigible. Yeah.
And now we know why he was incorrigible. Thank you, Johnny.
That's the only time that I really
Foraged.
Yeah. Other than that, it was Judy picking on me. So
Johnny is actually, other than his feud with Judy, Johnny has been. I felt the same way, Paul. Where there was that sense like, now what's this thing going to be? Because I feel like this guy has to be a rascal. But what's interesting is Johnny's actually quite the gentleman. He's quite the gentleman on set, and it was not refreshing surprise. It was just a surprise, like a Good and Garden variety
It
surprise.
might, though. It might be a setup for what he's going to do. Yeah.
What is to come?
Maybe.
The guard down. Yeah. Season 2. boom.
Johnny did throw a pencil at me a couple times.
Did he
No.
really?
That was on accident.
I saw you throw a whole script like with Brad's in it at Calum.
Yeah, but that was in a scene.
No, it wasn't. They kept it in a scene.
Oh, okay. But I mean, look, if you're working with me and all I do is throw a pencil at you, you've gotten off really easy.
Oh, I was great the whole time.
You can talk to some of my coworkers who have gotten it worse.
Yeah, sure.
Whose half their faces are paralyzed from brain. Yeah.
You told me, I think maybe, I don't remember, one day in Hair and Makeup, you said that one time you did something to like someone who was in the office. Like you did one time, you did it to someone who like wasn't in your group of jackasses and you regretted it.
Well, it just devastated the guy and it hurt his feelings. I'm like, okay, I can only go up my guys like that. I can't do it to anyone else. I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. I don't want to. So I just don't do it.
But here's the thing about Johnny's. Like, he is very sweet. And like, yes, I think all of us were like, okay, we were on high alert day one. And then you realize like, he's a nice person.
I love that moment that within Johnny's self, he had to realize, oh, so when I put a blowtorch up a guy's ass, that might hurt his feelings. I'm not his sphincter, but his feelings. I should rethink this.
If I punch Rachel Bloom in the asshole, it will hurt her.
Oh no.
So only, I'm learning. So only certain people.
He said,
I'm getting it now.
I gotta say, hurt his feelings is really sus to me. Like, what did you do? Like I hurt his feelings. Cut to like what he did was he somehow paid his wife to say she was cheating on him. And
what had you done?
No, he told me he sent someone a box of spiders once, which
no, but that was fine. That was a girl that works with us, and she does is insult everyone. So
she
fine.
had it coming.
I'm talking about someone outside of my group.
Okay,
I did some pranks to, and it just devastated them. It wasn't even that, and I can't really tell what it was because then people will figure it out. But I just don't prank civilians anymore.
Okay.
And we thank you. We as a society.
If you did anything to Paul would be out of that set so quickly.
Well, not only the fear and the intolerance.
I would never.
No, but I was watching George Clooney, some interview, and you can't be better, brighter, more terrific than George Clooney. And he loves practical jokes. And I've heard some friends with him that he's done stuff to that's really funny. But I'm going, he's such a bright guy. Why does he spend hours pranking things to which there's no punchline? He goes, I never found out. I go, well, how is that for you?
He spends years pranking his friends.
Yes. Richard Kind is a buddy, and I know
I know the Richard Kind story, and it's a good one. He did a great prank on Juliana Margulies, like that went on for years. Like
that takes such discipline and patience.
It also takes hours on set. If you're doing on-set pranks,
we didn't used to have
2-3 hours over, and you're like, I gotta get home. This prank took up the whole day. I don't know.
We didn't have phones, so we were forced to like be creative. Now we all just sit on our phones. That's why the pranking.
Okay.
Not so much anymore.
I have to ask you because we're running out of time. As much as I want to talk about the sending spiders through the mail and stuff, now I'm terrified to check my mailbox.
Yeah.
So should there be reboots? And if so, is there a show that you want to see rebooted?
This one. I'd like to see this one get season 2.
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
The amazing thing is, Hulu has yet to decide. I'm going, it's a hit. You love it, and you're in it, Hulu.
Yeah, they're the star of it, and they're like, that's a really.
We had such a good time. I forgot. I think it was a screening or something, or maybe it was when we wrapped, and we were all just so in love with each other and the show, and just so happy. And Steve Levitan wisely said, "Please remember this moment when you hate each other in season 9." He said, well, let's get there. Yeah. But yeah, we all left at that moment. We did 8, and it's not even a full 24 like in the old days. It's like, well, 8 was we barely got our feet wet.
I know, we hardly scratched the surface. Some of us left earlier than others, Paul.
Wow.
Oh!
That's what you get with Judy.
Johnny, I feel you now, Johnny.
I remember being on set and getting pictures of Ireland texted to all of us. Like, it was so beautiful. And we were all so hot and filled with COVIDs. And you were like, look at the park where I'm shooting.
Well, that's what I get for reaching out and sharing. I could have said, "The hell with them. I'm not going to show them what I'm enjoying." No, I shared it. And then it bites me in the ass. Lorraine, you see, I hope we don't do season 2 now. Or if we do, I hope there's some heavy rewrites.
Heavy rewrites.
I'm very excited.
You guys already barely spoke to each other on set. I mean, Judy and Paul, did you ever have any scenes together?
Yes, we had half of a writer's room scene together, remember?
Oh, that's right.
And it was magical.
I think, frankly, they're scared of us. I think the potency of the two of us in one room would just...
It's too much talent.
Explode.
Too
I
much
know.
talent.
It's too much talent.
It would change the medium. Yeah.
Well, and I gotta say, if we get for season 2, it seems to, spoiler alert, the season finale seems to be leading to some sort of romantic Judy and Johnny connection. And I know that usually like love scenes or closed sets, I'm gonna be there. I want to see what that day of filming is like.
Oh no, I have like a whole pitch about
that. There's gonna have to be 6 bodyguards. There's gonna have to be like a trained dog,
a 5th of whiskey.
More than that, and also like someone who has like anti-venom. Because I don't know, for some reason I'm feeling spiders and snakes and like I'm
anti-venom.
And the intimacy coordinator and a couple of lawyers.
Well, because the first intimacy coordinator is actually just going to be a snake in a human suit. So you got to get a second one.
Does that answer your question, Lorraine?
The skinniest intimacy coordinator we've ever met. That is a skinny intimacy coordinator. And you are slight.
This answers so many questions, and it's a really good place to end the conversation.
Sorry you were so brutalized.
Struggled to say conversation.
I know.
Thank you so much. I was happy to talk to you. The show is fantastic.
Thank you.
I want season 2, even with all that scary stuff that you just talked about.